I'm seeing people marching and releasing karma on the corruption that devours the police departments. Waving placards and paperboard signs, faces traumatized, but together we rise. Fed up of these lies, fed up of brutality. I've got a solid force with me though, John Boyega and Asher D. And actually, my kings and queens hold hands with me. We were on our knees for 8 minutes. Now everybody stand with me. Stand up for Stephen Lawrence. What happened to Mark Duggan? Justice for our American sisters and our brothers. We can't just stand by when they are killing our cousins. When George Floyd is on the floor, calling for his mother. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And I can't believe you couldn't see his nose bleeding. Disgraced Officer Chauvin, why didn't you get off of him? And to the other overseers watching him coughing and choking, you're blocking up his airways. You're blocking up his airways. 46 is too young to be walking heaven's stairways. What will his mother say? Son, I weren't expecting you. God said I had to stay. I should have been protecting you. To every single mum who lost a son, I will say this. Every single one of us will wipe away your tears. Let's reclaim humanity and embrace togetherness. When we leave here today, I'll ask you all to remember this. We can do it peacefully and show them what protesting is. Everybody gathered here, show love to the person next to them. And tell our children they don't fit the description. They're not second-class citizens. They were born to be champions. So tell them they're talented, beautiful and handsome. And if they put their mind to it, they can literally do anything. From today, overstand. They would never be undervalued. And when they say, oi, black boy, tell them to say thank you. Enough is enough. It's been the same for too long. Rest in power, Eric Garner, Michael Brown and Trayvon. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. Will the Louisville police tell us more about her murder? Shot down in a hail of 8 bullets is disgusting. They were looking for a suspect who was already in custody. Hold up your hands if you're with me. Somebody shout justice. Hold up your hands if you're with me. Somebody shout justice. Hold up your hands if you're with me. Somebody shout justice. Everybody after 3. 1, 2, 3. It's not just us, so make a fist and touch the sky. And it's alright to cry, you don't have to keep it inside. We're living in trying times, no one said it was easy. Coronavirus and racism are like global diseases. But I just know when I'm speaking, if we unify we can beat this. Until they respect the civil rights of our people. Not all whites are racist, not all blacks are criminals. Not all cops are bad, the scales need to be equal. No wait, hold on a minute, no if buts or maybes. If we don't work this out, who will explain this to our babies? To the ones who were prejudiced without saying it to our faces. This is a physical representation of the pain we've been facing. To the people who fought for us, to the names I didn't mention. Your legacy is close to my chest like a pendant. It's our responsibility to honor our descendants. No more not guilties for vigilante defendants.
What Hello and welcome to the Hertfordshire Black Lives Matter online showcase. For anyone who's unaware, Herts BLM is a network of young volunteers from across the county who are working together to fight for solidarity, education and change. Tonight we'll be following on from the success of the previous showcase at Hartham Common in June, and we'll be celebrating our local creatives, including singers, spoken word artists and activists that we have here in Hertfordshire. Tonight we'll just be remembering that unity will always, always, always prevail and be so much more valuable than anything that ever tries to divide us.
I pressed them together tightly, smacking full lips into a thin line, intending never to open them again. I pressed myself against the wall to fall into the shadows and come nothing at all. Oh so still, oh so good, oh so quiet. But stillness had gotten us nowhere. They passed us, looked through us. I was a statue in my own life, weighted down with their anguish and strife, making movement impossible, improbable that I would ever reach for something more. But standing still means falling in line. They took 400 years of our time. I can't give them any more. So I force my feet to move. The motion firm and smooth, but each step falls silently. I stamp around until finally I scream, which comes out as just a whisper. My voice hoarse and hollow, silent for so long I'd forgotten how to speak. I had become meek in my wanting to accommodate, overcompensate, mediate, satiate their desire for me to be tameable. And what good has that done? My spirit has run from a body that I'd handed over passively, diminishing myself actively. Well, now I will speak of something true. Until my whispers turn to shouts, and shouts turn to roars, I will no longer be still, good, or quiet. I will wreak havoc like I should until what we deserve is ours, until justice can be used to heal these scars, till they know his name and hers. And the tide shifts so that the pain can lift. Thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Shakila K channel. Today I'm going to be doing a cover. It's a bit unusual. It's basically a cappella, and I did the production all myself. I'm sure producers out there are probably going to kill me with what I've done. I just tried my best and just thought I'd push myself to do something myself. And I just think the song I'm doing, No Tears Left to Cry, is just so relevant for what we're going through right now, and I just hope and pray everyone's keeping safe and everyone's, coping as best as they can. And again, I hope you enjoy this cover and I hope it inspires you. No tears in my body, I ran up, but boy, I like it, I like it, I like it. No matter how, what, when, who tries it, we out here vibing, we're vibing, we're vibing. Coming out. Hey, but when it's raining down, can't stop now, can't stop, so shut your mouth, shut your mouth. And if you don't know it now, you know it, babe. Know it, babe, yeah. Right now, I'm in a state of mind. I wanna be in like all the time. Ain't got no tears left to cry. So I'm picking it up, I'm picking it up. Loving, I'm living, I'm picking it up. Oh, I just want you to come with me. We on another mentality. Ain't got no tears left to cry. So I'm picking it up, I'm picking it up. I'm loving, I'm living, so we turn it up. ain't got no tears left to cry. So I'm picking it up, I'm loving and living, so we turn it up.
Next up, Mark's going to be sharing some empowering words with us.
Hi guys, my name is Mark. I am 29 years old. I'm training to be a primary school teacher, and I live in the Hertfordshire area. I was back at the Hartham Common event back in June. I can't believe we're nearly in September now. And I was one of the speakers there. And it was just such an empowering moment to be able to speak and for people to listen to what we had to say and why this movement is so important to us. Just want to say thank you to Herts BLM for allowing me to speak again now. I've got a lot that I've got written here, so I'm going to get started. So feel free to stop whenever you want. So yeah, let's get into it. So it has been 3 months since George Floyd was murdered by the police in America, which means it has been 3 months since we have witnessed online, you know, those horrific videos, which I couldn't bring myself to watch, of the shocking police brutality, the violence, you know, the abuse of members of the public, and the tragic loss of life of more innocent black and ethnic minorities. 2020 has been a year in which the pandemic of a virus has taken over the entire world. We have seen a pandemic of racial inequality across the world as well. And that is something that should have never been a pandemic in the first place. And it should no longer be a pandemic. But the fight for this isn't over. This is only just the beginning. The entire world has stood up and continues to rise for the Black Lives Matter movement. As a mixed race male who has been personally affected by racism, these past couple of months have certainly been one of emotion, frustration, upset, anger and confusion. And for many of you that are watching this, I can imagine it has also been the same for you as well. Our voices are starting to be heard, and people are beginning to listen to our stories and experiences. Local black businesses are being promoted and celebrated. Stories of historical black figures both in and out of the UK are being spoken about. Those who understand their white privilege are doing what they can to educate themselves further and are wanting to support and stand with us, which is so important. People are making changes. Changes are happening, but there are still many who continue to not listen to us, who do not believe that our experiences are true, who believe that the movement isn't right or necessary, and who do not believe that racism still exists. There are still people in government and positions of high power and authority who should not be where they are today. When the blatant police brutality and racism that we have seen and heard is not brought to immediate justice, and where prime ministers and presidents believe that racism is, and I quote, not really a thing in this country. No black person should ever be hurt or killed because of their skin colour. It is not right in any shape or form. No black person should be unnecessarily stopped because they believe they look suspicious because of their exterior. No black person should have to accept or take racial slurs from anybody because those people are simply just racist. It's just not okay. There are too many people who still continue to dismiss what we have fought for and what we are fighting for, and they do not believe in a Black Lives Matter movement. Instead, they decide to replace the word black with all. So all lives matter, do all lives matter, is a question that has been in constant motion throughout this entire movement. The simple answer is yes, of course all lives matter. However, by them doing that, they're taking away the focus on what is most important right now, and they include the focus on themselves, on those people where their lives already mattered beforehand. Those who replace the word black with all do not take into consideration just how different the lives of many black people have probably been in comparison to themselves. The movement has never been about the focus to dismiss the lives of people who are not black, but to focus on the inequality and injustice black people continue to face and lose their lives from. The evidence is extremely clear that black lives still do not matter as much as the lives of white people. It's not just black lives either. The ethnic minority groups that also have to endure racism on a day-to-day basis, the immigrants, old and young, little children, who are fighting for their lives to be in a safer place in the world. Does the All Lives Matter slogan and stand with them too? The media are still continuing to try and divide, with their online articles being worded inappropriately and the headlines being incorrect and not accurate as clickbait to try and diminish the protests and their entire purpose of the Black Lives Matter movement. Compassion and humility for the lives of black people has not been evident when you read the news or read the newspapers. People have been using the hashtag BLM or Black Lives Matter as a promotional tool for their business or social media accounts to benefit who? Themselves. That's not what it's for. The Black Lives Matter movement is not a trend or a jumping on the bandwagon social media moment, and should never have turned into such a thing, which unfortunately for a lot of people it did. However, we need to focus on the positives of that. There are so many more people who have used it as a tool to promote the movement. But those people who have not chosen to educate themselves or anyone around them on the importance and necessity of this movement are not taking it seriously and are not understanding why those hashtags are there on social media or why protests are happening. That should not be happening right now. This kind of behaviour will continue to wrongly influence the younger generation, who will not understand the terminology of racism, discrimination and prejudice. The younger generation is where the change must begin. As a future primary school teacher, I want it to be of the utmost importance that the children I teach in my classroom are to know of the historical black figures of the past and the present. For those young black children to know and understand that they also matter and can be whoever they want to be in the world, and that their skin colour does not and should never define them. This is something which must be implemented into the curriculum, and I have seen that there are discussions of changes in the curriculum or things being added into it, and it is definitely something that has to be done and should be included. Black History Month in particular in schools is, it shouldn't be a one-day celebration or a 15-minute assembly for the entire month and then just push it to the side. It should be a celebration of the culture, the role models of the world, the music, the food, and so much more that will inspire and influence the next generation. We must also continue to have those difficult and uncomfortable conversations with children and adults, our friends, our family members, even our work colleagues, to help them have some more understanding of systemic racism and racial inequality. The more that these conversations are had, the easier it becomes to talk about and to hopefully change their mindsets and maybe influence, another friend or another family member or even your work, place that you work. We must continue to influence and inspire to change the world and change the world that we live in. Black Lives Matter is a movement. It is a movement. It's not just a moment. A movement which must continue to move, no matter how big or small the steps are. Forward is the only direction which we must go. We must continue to fight peacefully, not violently, to show that weapons and aggression do not define us and are not what we need in order to promote change. Our voices and our power to unite are our choice of weapon and will help us into promoting change, fighting for justice, fighting for equality, unity, a world where black is beautiful everywhere. Thank you very much.
Next we have a video from Micaelia Clarke, who is fundraising to open the UK's first Black History Museum, Library and School of Cultural and Creative Arts.
For centuries, the black contribution to the world we live in today has been forgotten, undervalued, untaught to the point of no respect. I present to you the UK's first Black History Museum, Library and School of Cultural and Creative Arts. The UK has no school, museum or library that stands as a monument, a celebration and acknowledgement of black history to the UK in the past, present or looks ahead to its part in the future. The goal is to provide a space for this. The Black History Museum, Library and School of Cultural and Creative Arts will be a place where black creativity, black culture, black intellect, black history will be celebrated, valued, remembered and taught. Some might say this is just a dream, but in the words of Harriet Tubman, every great dream begins with a dreamer. You have within you the strength, the patience, the passion to reach for the stars, to change the world. Let's change it together. Donate now and support the UK's first Black History Museum, Library and School of Cultural and Creative Arts. Thank you.
Hi, I gave a speech at the Stevenage protest. I'm going to read that speech out again because it's still relevant today. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who continues to show up to protests despite things opening up again. But I'd also like to say that we shouldn't be patted on the back for showing up, because as white people, we haven't been showing up for over 400 years. Today I want to talk about why it's so vital that we continue to show up and stay engaged. Yes, our lives may be returning back to normal, but the normal for white people is far better than the normal for black people, and that's exactly why we're here. Almost 1 in 3 of the entirety of young black males in London were stopped and searched during the lockdown period, which is more than double from that of last year May. But as a nation that claims itself to be diverse, we easily dismiss these racially fueled searches by saying black people were 8 times more likely to be perpetrators of violent crime. Too long has over-policing and small sample sizing led to the criminalising of black people. Too long have we had this narrative, and too long have we turned a blind eye and shrugged it off with our white privilege. It feels weird to be referred to as a white person, but as the majority, we aren't defined by our colour, and there's more to us than our skin. But it's clear that this doesn't apply to those who don't look like us. We need to stay engaged in the movement because our schools are still colonised, whitewashed and designed for white students. Black women are still 5 times more likely to die during childbirth than a white woman, and black men were more than 3 times more likely to be arrested than white men. Activism isn't just showing up to a protest. It's showing up when your racist nan has something to say and you challenge her. It's showing up to use your platform to speak against police brutality and the tragic deaths of innocent lives ripped away by racism. It's showing up to sign petitions so black people can have fundamental human rights. As white people, we must do more. We must be loud about change even when it's no longer trendy. We must be loud when people are tired of us talking, and we must be loud when we feel our words are falling on deaf ears. It isn't noble to be anti-racist, to say black trans lives matter, or to fight for equality. It is disappointing that it's taken us so long to snap out of our white supremacy and to realise that for everyone to have human rights, it doesn't jeopardise our own. So stay engaged, show up, sign petitions, donate when you can, watch those YouTube videos in the background which raise money just by watching ads. Do more. Do your part.
pack your bags and disappear, disappear. I search the streets for food my kids can eat. This place I wish I didn't know. Trying to survive, keep myself alive. Trying to help my kids to thrive. My life is gone, but this goes on, and I disappear. It's quite difficult to cope when you are alone and here. I just really hope my problems will disappear, disappear. You are never welcome here. 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 Stop here.
Hi everyone, my name is Ty. I'm a student teacher, activist and writer. I'm also a non-binary person of colour who has spent pretty much their whole life in every single aspect of the educational system. I help organise Black Community Rising's education programme, and I just want to give you guys a quick whistle-stop tour of what I think a decolonised education looks like and how Black Community Rising implements that into our education sessions. There are 3 crucial tenets to a decolonised education, which I hold close to my heart whenever I help create lesson plans or workshops with BCR. The first major tenet is students as collaborators. Mutual and engaging labour between students and teachers is so crucial. The teacher facilitates the learning of the student. And we acknowledge that teachers are flawed and often repeatedly re-traumatise their students, subconsciously or not. And a dogged determination to stick to teaching tradition alienates students not from that tradition. So that's to say, non-white, non-male, queer, disabled students. Our lesson content means nothing if the students can't relate it to their own lived experiences. Our second major tenet is teachers as healers and facilitators. A pedagogy, which means a way of learning, which emphasizes wholeness. So what I mean by this is best described by Buddhist monk and author Thich Nhat Hanh and radical writer and educator Bell Hooks, who talked about education being a union of mind, body, and spirit. We believe that a teacher cannot teach without first having worked on themselves and their own self-actualization. They must have processed and healed from their own educational and societal traumas, else their students are destined to inherit the teacher's traumas and make them their own. Anti-colonial teachers must heal their own damage so they can teach students how to heal theirs. Anti-colonial teachers must uplift their students with the right tools, knowledge, and questions so that students are not re-traumatized by education, but empowered by it. Our third major tenet is comprehension before efficiency and speed. Give the students agency with their learning. Emphasis must not be on repeating back without question the words of the teacher, but instead must be on empowering the student to question everything they're taught and ensuring that they understand why they're being taught what we teach. This questioning isn't just towards the government, towards society, towards their mainstream educational spaces, also to us. We're imperfect, but passionate. We need to teach students that not only is that okay, but that actually enhances education. The most crucial thing in education is excitement, but incredibly powerful. Students should be excited to learn, and we intend to work collaboratively with them by actively involving their lived experiences in what we teach. What this means is this. We reject the traditions of teaching, with the teacher as the neutral arbiter and disseminator of information. Black Community Rising believes that information isn't neutral. It's power. When a white male child is taught his history in a class of his non-male global majority peers, it validates his history as the true history, the one that deserves to be taught. We acknowledge that history is not singular, but multifaceted. Black Community Rising believes that the classroom, historically a place of oppression, should be a place of liberation. We do not believe in teaching one history. We believe in teaching young people the language and giving them the tools to express, explore, and be excited about their own histories. The classroom is not a lecture. It's a conversation. To learn more about how Black Community Rising teaches, and to attend both our in-person and online Zoom classes, go to www.blackcommunityrising.com. Our next class is What is the British Empire? A day full of activities, presentations, games and food happening on the 22nd of August 2020 in person simultaneously in both Norwich and Bristol. If you want to know venues and times, go to the website for more info. And I really hope that we see you there.
So many different religions and so many different churches, and if God really loves me, then why does life keep hurting me? Have you ever asked yourself any of these questions? Well, my friends got the answer. Just listen.
You have the power to make the seasons change. The river flows for you, the wind whispers your name.
For me, you left your throne and traded crown for thorns instead.
I'm safe within, not by your skin, but because your blood was red. Some say you're black, you're white. They question if you're real. They treat you like we treat ourselves. I wonder how you feel to see your children find a smile. The tears for us you shed. Doesn't matter what color you are, as long as your blood was red. Strong enough to wash away my sins, pure enough
Thank you so much for watching. We really hope that you've enjoyed seeing some local Black talent. If you, like us, think that Black lives do matter, then make sure you check out our social media page or you contact us to see how you can get involved in the future. Our social medias on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook are Herts BLM, and if you want to contact us by email, that is blmherts@gmail.com.